Old Colemans versus new Colemans. What are better, why they're better, and how they're better. All covered in one video. Gonna keep it simple. Not gonna be a super long discussion, but one a few people enjoy. On the left, we have my recently acquired 1950 Coleman 228D. And on the right, my also newly acquired 639C. Now, on their website, Coleman says that this lantern is just known as a single mantle kerosene lantern. They got rid of the 214, which is a bummer, by the way. They got rid of the 214 sometime in 2010, but they're still readily available. This model now has some long computer-generated wannabe of a serial number, but I'm just going to call it in this video the 639C. Okay. Differences, other than this being kerosene and this being Coleman, white gas, between the new and the old, the build quality just seems to be, I wouldn't say better, I would just say more stout. These old lanterns are, for lack of a better term, built like a brick shithouse compared to the new ones. There's nothing wrong with this lantern. It's steady, it's sturdy, it seems very well put together. Aside for that, that's sacrilege. Made in China. Versus that, and more importantly, see if I can find it here, that. Now it's faint and it's hard to see, but real light and green. Pyrex, made in the USA. I don't know why Coleman did that. I know exactly why. It's to save money, but it's a shame, really. But the build quality is fair on the new one. It's just not quite as good as the old one. You can see this is a 1950, and it's pretty much perfect. Got one little chip right there, but other than that, it's pretty perfect. Now, you can go out and spend $80, give or take, for a new one, or a new dual fuel, right around $50, but you could have something like this. Apologize for the mowing in the background. You could have this, score this on eBay. I googled it eBayed it last night, and I found pages of 228s, some newer than this, similar to this, 60s and 70s, and 50s and 60s, for anywhere from $30 to $80. Buy it now. To me, there's just something cool about the older ones. I love this lantern. It's done nothing but good for me so far, but there's just something about these ones. Well, we'll move on to the way they're built right now. The older ones have this nice knob. You crack it open, you wait for the spit, fire right up. New ones have this knob. It's still okay, but this is just better. And I'll explain why it's better. This has valve packing. This has O-rings. This was made in 1950. This was made in 2012. This is still going strong. This in 4 years, who knows? It's an O-ring. Rubber O-ring. Now, I'm not a genius, but metal valve packing, rubber. Kerosene, by the way, extremely hot. Rubber. Metal. Metal beats rubber any time of the week. Ask me. But I can also compliment the O-rings because this lantern was made in 87. Still works like a charm. It does. I can't lie and say it doesn't. This one was made in 95. Adjustable. Still works great. But I like the older style better. I do. That, and they have the cleaning lever. This one, the cleaning lever is built in. If you want to clean the jet out of your generator, you turn that a few times, and that's supposed to do it. I like having the lever, personally. And, you know, they say, well, these are adjustable. And that's true, they are. They adjust extremely well. Go from dim to bright. You can adjust these two. All you have to do is give it a turn. You can adjust your light all the way from bright to dim. Really easy. And you don't have to worry about, I've seen a lot of people, you'll melt the needle. No, you won't. You won't melt the needle in the generator using that for light adjustment. Trust me. Spent many years on a fishing boat with this lantern right here. Used it dim, bright, and everything in between. And I've never melted the needle. Didn't even come close to melting the needle. The generator was pulled off of this one and put on this one to make it work. And it fired right up. The needle looks just as good now as the day that it was put into this one by my dad in the early 80s. So don't worry about melting your needle. This lantern, we have a brass font with nickel over top of it. This is a steel font. This is a steel font as well. But they're both great. I'm not harping on either one, aside from that made in China. They're both great. This feels like a family heirloom. This feels like something that you could pass on to your kids. This feels like a workhorse. I feel like I could go out, put a scratch on it, put a scrape on it. Not a big deal. I can replace it. I put a scrape on this one, I'm going to be pissed off at myself. But who knows, in 40 years there could be somebody doing a video holding this lantern saying the exact same thing but in reverse. Coleman might have a new lantern out. I hope they don't make them any cheaper. I hope they stick to their guns. I really wish that they'd let Pyrex do it in the USA Globe. If this had a USA Globe on it from the factory, this thing would be a 9 out of 10. This thing is 60 years old. It's a 10 out of 10. Proven track record. While the 639 design has been around for just about ever, this lantern is an 8 out of 10. It doesn't have the track record. So, they're good in their own right. My suggestion, if you're not a collector and you just want a good, solid, well-built lantern, get the 639. See, you'll be happy with it. I guarantee it. But if you want something that looks nice and you can pass on to your kids one day and is built in the USA, go get you an older Coleman. They're readily available. They're fun to restore. And you can pick them up dirt cheap. $5 is what I paid for this lantern. $5. $80 for this. $5 for this. That ends it right there.